All right, hard cast ammo onto the pocket guns. And what I got here is a variety of ammo. There's no 9mm in this test, just because I don't have any. And not all the bullets are exactly perfectly the same design, but this should give us a good idea of what we can expect in pocket guns with some hard cast ammo. So I have some 32 Smith & Wesson long, 32 H&R Magnum, 327 Federal Magnum, 357 Magnum, 38 Special, and a couple varieties of 380 ACP. So our 32 long, and we're going to go through these pocket guns here. We got a 1.9-inch barrel, 2-inch barrel, and 2 3/4-inch barrel LCP, LCR, and Taurus 605. So this is a 115 grain bullet for our 32 long, a 130 grain bullet for our 32 H&R, same as our 327, a 180 grain for our 357 Magnum, a 148 grain wad cutter for our 38 Special, and we have some 100 grain 380s. One is a standard pressure, one is a plus P, and I have all these averaged out in the past of the energy and all that, so I don't need to run through the chronograph, except I do not know what this is, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get a reading. But yeah, that should have like 600 foot-pounds in this gun, which is insane. But what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna do my big game ballistic test here. We have this thick layer of carpet, 6 inches of clear ballistics, which is double what I normally put before the MDF, a 1/2 inch MDF, which is double what I normally do into clear ballistics. I had some passers in the past, so what I got here to possibly prevent that is I have some plywood, followed by a 3A body armor fiberglass piece here, so that should stop any bullets. I have my chronograph here. I'm going to try to catch some velocities before they hit the gel block. Generally that doesn't work, just because you're a little bit close for trying to hit that gel block accurately, and sometimes the powder will obscure those sensors and it's not going to read. And then I'll just shoot from, like I did before, 25 yards at my steel silhouette to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have that 357 mag. I really do not want to shoot this out of this gun because, you know, we were approaching 800 foot-pounds out of the 4-inch barrel. Typically when you go heavier in bullet, it loses less and less of that power. So yeah. So I'm going to go for center of the block. I think this will go through the whole block. Try to get a velocity read, and we'll see how it goes. 357 Magnum, 180 grain hard cast. And we got a read, 1,304 feet per second. I have a 2-inch barrel with a 180 grain bullet. So that hurt. Let's see what we got in our gel block. And as I expected, it went through this entire thing here, and here we go. It embedded into this piece of plywood, and the 3A on the other side did its job, because right where it's starting to come through, that 3A fiberglass stopped it. So that is a whole lot of penetration. That is a heck of a pocket gun for sure. Let's try something else. All right, 32 Smith & Wesson long. I'm going to be a little bit off center with these shots over the sensors, so I might not get reads with these, but the rest of these I have averages for in the past testing, so I'll list that if I can't get a read. So 32 long, see how this will do. 687 feet per second. Let's see what we got. And that's a big difference there. As we're at about 14 1/4 inches, but in and of itself that's pretty impressive to go through all of that and 2 MDF pieces equaling a 1/2 inch and still get 14 1/4 inches. That's pretty good. Let's try something else. 32 H&R Magnum, stepping up the power a little bit. Let's see what we get. 1057 feet per second. Let's see what we got in the gel block. And that's interesting because it kind of went up and went down, and definitely a lot more than that 32 long for sure. What we're looking at here is about 30 inches of penetration and a lot of damage at the end. It looks like it went straight through and then maybe started to tumble at that point. Nice. Let's try something else. All right, 327 Federal Magnum. See how this will do. 1204 feet per second. And wow, like wow. And I kind of saw this phenomenon in the past with this. Even though the 32 H&R mag and the 327 are 130 grain, what I saw in past testing was tumbling with that 327. It did not go any further than the 32 long because of tumbling. Yeah, we have a ton of damage when we first impacted, but we only went to about 14 and a quarter. So even though it's a good powerful round, I think the bullet weight is a bit much for a pocket gunner's snub. So let's try something else. 38 Special. Now this is a wad cutter, but the reason why I chose this is because this is more in a typical power range of a 38 Special. You know, we're up there upper 200 foot-pounds. So unlike the Underwood one that was getting about 400 foot-pounds out of this, this is more typical. So I thought it'd be a better choice. So let's see what we get with our 38 Special here. Wad cutter. 905 feet per second. And that wad cutter just did not penetrate very far at all. It's partially bullet design, I think, but partially energy, because you know the 32 went longer, 32 long, so obviously that wad cutter is just not gonna do it. We're at about 12.5 inches, so not necessarily impressive. So let's try our 380s now. All right, 380 ACP, standard pressure, 100 grain. See how this will do. 932 feet per second. And that fared about like the 32 H&R mag. You know, we got about 14 3/4, a little bit more actually, but it does appear that it tumbled after hitting this MDF. So let's try our plus P version, see how that does. All right, plus P version. See if we beat that 932 feet per second. No read on that. And as we can see, going up to a plus P made a big difference. And I didn't really feel any more recoil with that than the standard version. But in the past testing, I got, you know, a good 60, 70 foot-pounds more energy with the plus P version than the standard pressure. So yeah, so what we see here is that you can fire plus P from an LCP, and we got about 19.5 inches penetration. So that made a difference. That made a huge difference on our penetration. So, but all these are looking pretty good. I'm really surprised that the 32 H&R mag did so well. I think it just has something to do with that power level. You know, when you get that 327, that 130 grain going so fast, it just does not perform very well. But the 32 H&R mag did well. So our 32 H&R mag and our 357 mag did well. To be honest though, I would never want to shoot that 357 Magnum at something charging me, but if you had to, it would work. So let's see what we get for accuracy at our steel silhouette. All right, so I thought I'd take a moment to kind of show all these bullets I pulled out here. And here was our 357 mag. You know, it was embedded in that all the way up to the top of this front of this body armor here. Left a mark in it, so that's pretty impressive in and of itself. Here's our 357. Our nose is deformed a little bit, so that's very powerful round there. Here's our 32 H&R Magnum and our 327. It's the same bullet. I actually see more nose deformation on that 32 H&R mag than I do on that 32 or 327. That probably has something to do with tumbling. I'm betting that's the hole where the 327 went through. So our 32 H&R Magnum here is definitely at a better speed than our 327 for that short barrel, which is pretty good there. There's our 32 long, not really any deformation there. Here is our 38 special wad cutter. There's a little bit of nose deformation, to be honest. So that's really why it slowed down. It put a lot of energy where it went. Here's our 380 and our 380 plus P. Really no difference there. Our plus P actually has more of the lube on the bullet. Oh, maybe not. Just looked like that from that angle. But really no difference there. So that's interesting that what we got anyways in that 357, that is a beast. So that's what you get. All right, first up I'm going to start with the 380. 3 rounds of standard pressure first, and then I have 3 rounds of plus P. So let's see how this will shoot for me. 25 yards. Malfunction, pretty bad malfunction there. Kind of tilted that round down. That's kind of to be expected when you start pushing rounds that hot in this little gun. Alright, now here's our plus P. Failure to feed, magazine drop. So a lot of jolting on that. Not a comfortable round to shoot. You know, when I fired 1 round of each, I didn't notice a big difference, but when I fire several back to back, there is a big difference. A lot more punch in your hand with that top plus P. So let's move on to something else. 38 special wad cutters. See how this will do. All right, pretty nice. Let's try something else. All right, I have 4 rounds of 32 H&R mag. This did the best, other than the 357. So, see how this shoots for me. Pulled those 2 shots at the end. Case ejection is kind of bad with these, so those are pretty hot. I'll have to knock those out and try something else. All right, 327 Federal Magnum. See how these will do. Let's pack a punch. And case ejection is terrible again. Just realized why Buffalo Bore uses hard cases for their ammo. It works. So let's move on to something else. All right, last and not least, but really kind of least, that's our 32 long. Actually pretty good performance for what it is, because it's not really any more recoil than a 22, but yeah, it's doing a lot more than what a 22 would do. I'm not sure a 22 would even get through that MDF, and this did well. So 32 long, see how it does. And obviously the least amount of recoil. So what we're seeing here is that going to the smallest pocket gun is not necessarily the greatest thing. You know, like the LCP, that's pretty much the smallest, one of the smallest. You have a lot of drawbacks there that people don't talk about. They're like, oh, it's just as good. I get 7 rounds versus you get 5 in your 38. But when you only really get 2 shots and that jams, because you have to be very selective on the ammo, that makes a big difference. As for something like this, a 6 for sure. And it's been 6 for sure for about 2.5 years. I don't think I've ever had a malfunction with this gun or anything like that. Especially if you use the right ammo. Stuff like this expands in the cases a lot, and yeah, you have some issues, but you know, lower pressure nickel plated stuff runs smooth. So what we're seeing here, kind of surprised by a lot of things. I was not surprised by that 357 Magnum. In fact, I think that 357, I'm 100% sure it was more powerful out of that 2-inch barrel than Underwood's version was out of a 4-inch barrel. And honestly, the recoil was a big push, but it didn't actually hurt that bad, to be honest, even though I said, oh, it really hurts. It really didn't. It was more just a push in your palm. Some of the other stuff like the LCP, that hurts because you got these little tiny parts that are slapping into your hand. That's why I'm wearing gloves today. I normally wouldn't, but when you get to those little pistols and they start slapping those little parts in your hands, it starts tearing up your skin. So overall, obviously our 357 did the best. Our 38 did not do as well as I wanted it to, but you know, it is a wad cutter. Very surprising on our 32 here, but the biggest surprise here was our 32 H&R Magnum. That had pretty much the deepest penetration with the lightest recoil. So that did really well. I'm going to say that's probably our winner here out of these is our 32 H&R Mag hardcast buffalo bore, because it was in a shootable range. It was within 9mm recoil, stuff like that, and yet it penetrated super deep. So 32 H&R Mag, very surprising here. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.